But actually, I'd like to know whether this application is working properly or not. And yes, is this working? Yes, it's working. But actually, my mobile or my smartphone is working slowly. But actually, I think this is in the range of in the range of norm, or in the range of in the ordinary level, I think. So, but anyway, this is in the this work I- this work of application falls in the ordinary, or in the normal, or in the proper range. Anyway, so this application, named Anchor, and which is one of the applications which has been so one of the applications of Spotify is working properly. And so, anyway, so this application is not what I'd like to talk about this time. So hello everybody, I'm Richard Gon of Workly podcast version. And so here's some change actually. So some South Korean people, or some South Korean person began to listen to my episodes so many times, or so many plays. So some South Korean people began to play my episodes of podcast so many times, which is what I'm saying. But what actually, so considering their ratio, the ratio of each country is displayed in the control panel, or in the administrative tab. So so maybe so how should I say? Anyway, so considering the ratio of South Korea, which accounts for some percentage of the entire listeners. I don't know, the entire listeners account for 100%, and so maybe some South Korean people, the listeners of South Korean, not South Korean, but the listeners of South Korea account for some small percentage actually. But actually, there maybe that is working in the number or the names of countries are sorted in the order of the size of ratios, or the how big ratios are. Is the standard of sorting the names of the countries. I don't know if you are also a podcaster who use, if you are a podcaster, or if you are podcasters who listen to, but who use Anchor, maybe you can understand what I'm talking about. But actually, if you are not podcasters, or if you are not a podcaster, maybe I think you have no idea. I think you have completely no idea what I'm talking about. So if you are not podcasters, so please dismiss this part, or please, you don't have to listen to this part. So from now on, anyway, I'm sorry for my taking your precious time. And so Japanese people say such a thing, but actually, so maybe I think most of you are busy listeners, I think, and because so maybe so white collar workers, or the workers of white collars are the main listeners of my podcast. And but actually, so some adult content creators can be workers of blue collars. But actually, and anyway, so which working types, or which types of workers you are. I'd like you to enjoy this episode, and you don't have, of course, I don't think you can enjoy this episode. And anyway, so I have digressed so for a long time, and not so long, but actually, anyway, so this time I'm sorry, I'm nervous. And anyway, so what I'd like to tell you is that I should tell you the conclusion in this case. the conclusion is a new content has been, not a new content, but actually a new book has been created. A new book has been created. A new content has been created, which is correct. But actually, it is an ebook which I published. So have I mingled up with Elander? Anyway, published. I have published. I published a book, an ebook. I published an ebook, and the name was the title of which is How to Speak English, lectured by an adult podcaster. And in this case, the adult podcaster in British English is me. I'm that adult podcaster, and so what I wrote is not a porn novel. So in most cases, and so maybe some people do not like my works or my novels, but actually, so this time it is not a porn novel, but a textbook or textbook, which is what I wrote, and the textbook is of English language, and how to speak English is what you can learn from that book. And so anyway, so if you are thinking of raising, or if you are thinking of acquiring speaking skills of English language, please take a look at the description column of this episode, and from which you can access that book I recently published. And I'm recording this episode, or I'm creating this episode in the end of January in 2024, and so in this month, earthquake occurred, and planes crash occurred, and so not many things occurred, but actually there are, so this country has really huge accidents or disasters. But actually, so there is a huge earthquake. There was a huge earthquake, and there are a series of some earthquakes, and there was a crash of two airplanes. But actually, anyway, so that's not the main track of this episode. Anyway, but actually, so if you'd like to study English using my book, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm happy to hear that. Anyway, so so the title of that book is, wait a moment, please. And the title of that book is How to Speak English, lectured by an adult podcaster. And so this is all the stuff I'd like you to know this time. And so I'm sorry for my taking taking a long time. And but actually, so so and I wrote an article of my blog, the title of that blog article, or the blog content is Let's Study English. Here are educational resources I have created. And this time, so maybe days before, I converted the language into English. So my blog had used my blog had used Japanese for some parts, or some fractions of the entire blog. But actually, I completely converted the language from Japanese to English. So the administrating part, the administrating, how should I say, the administrating section, or the administrating screen, or the administrating display, or the administering display of WordPress had been Japanese. But actually, I converted even that administering section, or administering screen or display from Japanese to English language, which is why all the stuff is written in English in my blog. So please, and which is why, so in which sense, so please feel free to read that blog article, or please feel free to read that article of my blog, and to access that article, which is another stuff I'm talking about. I'm talking about two things. One, which is book, and the second one is an article. And that article is what I created for advertising that book. And anyway, so to access that blog, please access the description column of this episode, so that you can find out the link to that article. And the title is, so let's study English. Here, wait a moment, please. The title of that blog, that blog article is let's study English. Here are educational resources I have created, and that educational resource is one of the educational resources is How to Speak English, lectured by an adult podcaster, which is the title of a book I created this time, and which is the title of the book I created this time. You know, I made a mistake in the use of the article of a and the. Anyway, so I'm going to finish this episode. I'm sorry for my disorganized manner of speaking English, but actually, so that book has a section writing about or written about how to speak logically. So if you'd like to know how to speak logically, please read that book, which is the fastest manner for acquiring speaking skill of English language. So that's it. Thank you very much. And actually, so finally, and if you'd like to actually know whether you can really learn or really study how to speak English. So please access that book, and so that on the second or third page you can find out the link leading to this podcast, so that you can actually listen to my episodes of podcast, so that you can which means by which you can check out whether the answer actually speaks English or not, and the answer is of course me. So that's it. Thank you very much for everything. See you.